Welcome to the Runna Podcast. Today we spoke to the incredible Alex Bell, Olympic finalist, 800 metre specialist, now turned to the roads. We had a brilliant chat and it was clear to see Alex's love for the sport. You'll love listening to this one. Hey Alex, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing well, thanks. How are you guys keeping?
Good, yeah, good.
Very good, thank you.
Yeah. Some trips you've been having, I hear and see.
Yeah, we've been all over the world. Freshly back from Boulder and San Francisco.
Lovely.
But no, very happy to be back here with you today. And I guess to start things off, we love to ask, what is it that got you into running all those years ago?
Oh God, I know, 32. All them years ago, in high school I'd say it was. Professionally, it wasn't until I was about 24, 25 until I really started to knuckle down. But yeah, predominantly it was through school. I'm a really good PE teacher that I had. I don't feel like they make them like who I had now these days, where they really pushed, and if they saw like a nugget of talent, they'd like really push for you to like try and explore every opportunity and path going. So with me, I was doing like football, dance, and then I got introduced to athletics in high school. And just doing it very casually, doing it very fun. Turned up to like my local club with my best friend, not really expecting anything. We turned up with a football and we used to like do headers for warm up and like frisbee throws for warms up. Like, do you know what I mean? It was very casual. There was no pressure. There was no real like force to compete to the very best of your ability, but just to be involved. And it's something that I did because I enjoyed it. And I never put any pressure on me at a young age, and I was doing like loads of different activities growing up, going through school.
And you mentioned that your PE teacher saw a glimmer of talent.
A little glimmer of talent, yes.
Like, do you, like reflecting back to that point, because I think it's so interesting, like do you put that down to like you having like done more sport playing than all of your peers and being a little bit better and faster, like because of the lived experience you've had, or do you think you were like genetically gifted, which is what led to you feeling a little bit more talented than those around you?
Yeah, a mix of both, to be honest with you. It's always that like question, isn't it? Like what is talent outweighing hard work sort of thing. But I think I had a little mix of both. My mum, she actually won the English schools. She was a 100-metre sprinter, so I've got some fast switch fibers coming from my mum's side, and my dad played rugby to a very high standard as well. So yeah, I think the background and the genetics is there, but I was an only child growing up, and one of the things that my mum and dad not forced me but supported me in, I'd say, is a lot of sport and to be involved with a lot of different people. And that's the great thing about sport. I think, especially doing it from a younger age, you are pushed in environments and situations where you're meeting different people. And yeah, it's a way to find something for everybody, isn't it? And that's what's so great about athletics specifically, is there is always something for everybody.
Yeah, I think it's so great that the school like pushed you and also almost like showed you that like there are opportunities to join a club and things, because when I think about school, it's like the boys were doing sport and that was really cool, and then it wasn't cool for the girls to be good at sport, and like they'd play football at break and then the girls would like play with their dolls, and it was so different. Were you like training or like doing the sport with the guys? Did that build your confidence even from that young age?
Yeah, I mean, I work in schools now and I see such a big difference from when I was at school to obviously modern day schooling now and the way that PE set up is. And yeah, I didn't care. I was a very tomboyish and I didn't care who you were competing or playing with. As long as I got the enjoyment and the satisfaction out of it for myself and got the win, that's all that really matters, I suppose. But yeah, like I said, there's always something for everybody, and enjoyment was the key, I suppose. Yeah.
And so you got into your kind of like track running kind of towards the end of school, and then you said you kind of started to take it a lot more seriously and went professional at 24. What was it that like led those steps to being able to make that leap that meant you were able to
So I did
go
fall
down
off
that
the
route?
rails, I'm not going to lie. It wasn't always my first love. I went to university and then lived the life, and to be honest, I was just still doing it half-heartedly. I can say half-heartedly, hand on my chest, I didn't give it my all. It was just something, like I said, I was naturally quite good at without having to do much work with. So I remember even before I was 18, I don't know if I get into trouble for this, but like my dad would come and pick me up. So I'd like where the cool down would start, he would actually pick me up so I could cut my cool down shorter, so I could get home to the fake ID that someone lent me their ID so I could get home and get ready to go out before everybody else, if that makes sense.
And your dad was on board for that?
My dad was so on board for that. He was like, if you need to be dropped off in town, you let me know. So it was just a phase, you know. I think a lot of teenagers go through that phase, and I feel like, yeah, it was just a phase I went through, and it wasn't till the back end of university when I graduated, I got to the point where it was like, right, staying at home with mum and dad, it's like you go and get yourself a job, or you can have the opportunity to try and make it full time. Because I remember at the time when I graduated, it was probably around the World Championships where I'd used to see girls who I'd compete with at the English schools level making it, like making these teams, making these GB teams who had fully given it their all. And I'm thinking, like, at that point in my life, that, you know, that where you're like, what do I do? Who do I want to be? It was almost like a moment of, if I was to have given it everything, like maybe I could be on the screen and make them teams like these girls too. So it was kind of like a light bulb moment where you had to see it to believe it, and to think maybe I could have that opportunity if I, you know, give it everything and stop going out. And
do you think you had to make that decision for yourself? Like, you had to get the partying out of your system and then be like, oh, I could actually do this? Like, if someone had tried to, like, stop it earlier on, do you think?
Yeah, I think it would have been forced. It would have been like putting you in a box of, like, you know, not having that freedom, not having that, yeah, I think it was just literally a phase, because, yeah, it's not for everybody. And, you know, I wouldn't regret anything looking back on my career in athletics. I feel like, yeah, I didn't go through a burnout phase as such. And that's the reason why I probably peaked at the late age of like 28, 29, and, you know, touch wood to this day, not had any injuries, or, do you know what I mean, anything that has really had a massive blip in my career. And yeah, honestly, looking back, I don't think I'd change anything, because that's the way that's the way my life has been paved out, and why we're here today, I suppose. Yeah,
because if I ran as a kid, I probably wouldn't be running now. And I think it's really hard to run at like a really high level through like becoming a woman, and like it's a really tricky time anyway. And then with all the hormone changes, with everything, with like so much added pressure that suddenly gets put on you, and I think that's
100%. It's a lot as well. And I think now I see like young athletes or younger athletes coming through who are getting like full-on sponsorships and contracts at such a young age, like even before they're 18. And I think it's not necessarily a good thing. Like, yeah, it's great, you get your money, you know, you can go and be this professional athlete, but I still believe in like lived experiences and creating yourself a personality, creating yourself a, you know, a character of yourself, and finding out who you are without running as well. Because, you know, a lot of issues that I've found personally coming out of sport and then getting back into it, and discussions around dinner tables with athletes, is who are we without athletics, or who are we without sport? Like, it isn't a full identity. And I have had an identity crisis. I can sit here in this couch and comfortably talk about it now, but there was a point where you're like, what are you without it? Like, it does consume so much of your life. It's important to know what you can be without just, you know, 100% track or 100% running constantly.
What do you like to do when you're not training, when you're not running?
I love to be on holiday. I love the holidays. Honestly, that's the one thing I'm going to miss about being on the European circuit, and, you know, going to meet after meet all around Europe. I absolutely love it. I did geography at university, and I love nothing more than like exploring, getting to meet people, you know, trying foods, cultures. Like, I'm so good. If you ever need an itinerary for any of your next trips, please, like, let me know. I just love it. And that's. Yeah,
well, I am matching with the geography degree.
There we go.
So I guess, like you said, you kind of saw some of your peers from kind of junior times, and you saw them kind of make it onto the television and whatever it was. What was it then you like flipped in the way that you led your life to be able to like almost get to that same level?
So I was working full time at a very famous sports brand, and my husband, my partner, my boyfriend then, we had this opportunity where he was like, look, if you want to give it full time, you've said you've never ever given it your all before. Now, what better way than to start and give it your all for the next 2 or 3 years for the next Olympic cycle? So we literally did that. I changed coaches. I was already in Leeds, but we changed the setup a lot. Like, I was introduced to like psychology, nutrition, mechanics, strength and conditioning, and we just literally threw ourselves in it. There were so many elements to running. Even though I was performing then at a decent level, there were so many elements I was missing. And yeah, the switch to my coach, Andrew Henderson, we're based in Leeds. I regret not doing it sooner, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, that was the switch for me to make it onto the big stage, I suppose. Yeah.
And how long did it take after like going all in for you to like start seeing the results of that? Like, did you have to settle into it all?
Yes and no. I went in as like a sponge. I was like, look, if you tell me to jump, I'm like gonna like say how high sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? But I moved coaches in the September, and then I made the Commonwealth Games that following April, and I ended up running like fastest times that I'd ever run to that point. I finished 5th in the Commonwealth Games against like Caster Semenya, Margaret Wambui. Like it was a massive field. But yeah, it was pretty quickly, to be honest with you. I think I had a pretty good base. It was just trying to find all the things that we were lacking just to perfect and to make us run as fast as we possibly can. And then from then on year, started to make teams, started to run quicker, started to get stronger, started to look different. And yeah, the mental side of it as well with the psychology, that was huge for me. That was one of the biggest things that I was introduced to.
Yeah, because like you were still doing the training before, but do you think just like that mental shift, like going all in and then like kind of, you know, whether the nutrition made a huge difference, whether it was just a 1%, but like knowing that you're going all in, like meant that your head was just like more in the game, and it meant like you were being more intentional with the training?
100%. I had goals and I wrote them down, and I was like, I'm not going to give up until I reach them. It made the vision so much more clearer. I knew 100% I wanted to go to the Olympics. That was my dream from a very young age. I didn't know in what sport necessarily, but yeah, the thought of being an Olympian was like a massive dream for me. And it was just one of them attitudes of I'm not going to stop, or I'm not going to sacrifice all this hard work and time to not get what I want at the end of it. Yeah. But yeah, that was the key for me. And psychology, the psychologist that I worked with helped me identify and see the potential and to work on yourself day in, day out. And I think with sport, like in athletics specifically, there's not many sessions or training sessions that could differ you from your competitors. What I realised was it's your attitude and your mental game turning up to that start line that's probably going to differ you making a team to not making a team. Yeah. So.
And I guess on that psychological side of things, did you find that like kind of committing and going professional changed your emotional relationship with running? Did you love it just the same? Was there more pressure to get out the door and train?
I did love it. I absolutely loved it. So I signed my my first contract, and then I made the World Championships, and then it took me into Tokyo, and then after Tokyo, that was the pinnacle for me. But then it was more so after I achieved the Olympic status, if you like, that I struggled, if I'm honest with you. And yeah, I really struggled. And then that's brought us to the decision that I've moved onto the roads now, and the position that I'm in now today to talk about the story and the transition.
And what is that? Is that the pressure that it comes from having performed at the Olympics and achieving that lifetime goal, or what is it that kind of creates that feeling afterwards?
I think it was just where you've put so much into a dream, and then achieving the dream, and then I didn't have a backup dream. So after, I went over and beyond what my expectations were, finishing 7th in the Olympics and running the quickest time, 7th quickest time ever by a Brit. Like that it really did over-exceed my expectations and a lot of people's as well. And I just believed there was no next step for me to be like, right, what's our get up and go now? What is it that I'm going to strive for to become? And yeah, I think it just left a little void in my life for quite some time. Some injuries along the way as well, which caused a bit of a hiatus. But it was just not having a goal to get up and a drive. And I believe to get through this life, that is the key thing, is to have something that gets you up in the morning and makes you want to go and get it, if you like. And
so what became your new goal to get you out of that slump, I guess?
I want to say marathon. I don't know if I want to commit to marathon just yet, but a road runner of some sort. I want to go from being one of the shorter distances and getting my hands on a GB vest to one of the athletes who can do one of the longest distances, and hopefully one day get my hands on a GB vest as well. I think that would be quite a story, quite a turnaround, and it's not something that really happens often as an 800 metre runner. You're either a 400 metre runner, 800 or 8:15, but I don't mind skipping the 15, the 5s, just go straight to 10k half marathon, and then one day maybe a marathon.
Yeah. Do you think you just like needed to take a step back and like reevaluate your goals, because you basically said you were retiring from the sport?
No, I did, and I am,
Yeah.
and I have. From the track, specifically from the track.
Yeah. And then did you need that time off to then be like, no, this is what I want?
Yeah, I think I needed to leave it to then realise it's actually in my blood. There's something in me that will just not leave running alone. And I think what I identified was that I needed something that was bigger than what I've, something that's going to scare me, something that's massive, something that's kind of unheard of and quite niche, and something that's going to be like, yeah, people can get on board with this and people can follow the journey. Obviously, being a professional athlete in the track world, great, good for me, but it's a completely different story, and I've not sat here or blurted out like, I'm going to make it, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I think I've been quite authentic with it, and a lot of people have been on board with it and interested, because I've been quite stripped back and been like, you know what, I've not got the answers just yet, I don't quite know what I'm doing, but come join the journey, come see how I go and see how we do. So yeah.
I think, like, as you say that, like, you've been very open, you've been yourself, like, you've kind of always been a bit of like the underdog. Do you think?
I love that. Yeah. No,
like,
yeah,
even in the track running, and then now with the road running, like, it's like no one quite knows what to expect from you, and like maybe, well, you're probably outdoing your own expectations, outdoing what everybody else might believe you can do.
Yeah,
Is that the case?
100%. I love watching someone be an underdog, and I love playing that underdog role in some respect. And always proving people wrong is always a great feeling, right? I feel that's always been one of my driving forces, and one of the driving segments in sport is, yeah, okay, on the days that you can't be bothered, or you're having a down day, it's like, well, that person says that you'd never make it, so actually you get yourself up and get yourself out, because you can. All that you need to do is just have that belief.
Yeah.
And it has to come from yourself. Can't come from anyone else.
Yeah.
And what have you found the kind of biggest differences, like day to day, week to week, going from focusing towards something as short as an 800 meters to now building up the distances, and how are you finding the biggest differences day to day, week to week?
I feel it's all positive so far. Like again, I don't want to touch wood again, but like I went through so many niggles after running 157, like Achilles issues and plantaris issues, knees, just everything started to break down, whether it was from running so fast and having such a breakthrough year and a big year. Not sure what the reasoning was, but having running double what I used to do, like I've gone from 35 miles to like 70 miles now averaging a week, which is huge in a short space of time, but my body has never felt better. Like the efficiency of running has helped so much. The mind, it's helped a lot as well. And the fact that I don't actually understand some of the sessions my coach sets me, and I don't understand the concept of the times, and we're running this pit, I'm like, anything above 800 metres I have no clue, which sounds very pathetic of me to say I've been doing it for so long, but I think that's kind of helping, not knowing of what a pace should feel like. And again, it's going back to asking my coach, you tell me how high to jump, and I'll do it.
Because presumably the volume of some of your like interval sessions now must be so much bigger than what you would have done as an 800 metre runner, right?
Yeah, 100%. And it's just getting used to it. That's literally it, just running day in, day out, double days. I never used to double run. I've stripped things back in the gym in terms of I don't need to do as much explosive, powerlifting. I still squat, I still maintain, and I still try and do things to prevent my key areas where I've had injuries and struggles in the past. But yeah, it's really refreshing. My other half struggles because he has to come out on the bike, and he never thought I would do distances that I'm covering now, and he ums and ahs about it, saying, I can't believe I'm doing this on my day off, but I know he loves it really.
So that's him cycling next to you?
That's him cycling next to me, and he's got really good. From the first time he went out on the bike he fell over, but now he's like one-handed with a camera, so I'm like, gains all over.
So is it really the challenge of doing something new that really excites you?
It excites me, it scares me. A little bit of both. I think you need that. And yeah, the outcome, I don't know what the outcome will be. Just follow along and see. I'm willing to give it 100%. It's something I'm excited about again. And yeah, again, no pressure other than what I put on myself. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm stepping up to start lines, and excited to race, of the unknown.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've missed that for a while. A big chunk of my life post-Olympics, that I really missed this feeling that I've been getting going into races. So yeah.
And I guess one of the differences by doing so much of a longer distances versus something as short as an 800 metres is presumably you now need to race less often.
Yeah, I mean, that's the good, and I'm finding that's quite a negative as well, because the last few races where I've had a big lead up into a race, it's like, yeah, we've got a big build, we've got 6-8 weeks into this race, and then the week before I'll get ill, or the week before I'll, there's been something on the past 3 races where it's just not been right. So yeah, the plan going forward is to race more. So I've got a few 5Ks coming up. Never done a 5K before, only within a 10K, and then a few more 10Ks, and then a half marathon in October. Can you believe I'm saying that? A half marathon when I should really be getting ready for a world championship.
So to give us a bit of context, what would you be aiming for an upcoming 5K?
Oh, I've put down 15:25 to start with,
Crazy.
which again, my other half said, put 15:25 down. I'm like, okay. And then I have no clue, other than what I've done within a 10K. But yeah, we'll see. I've got 2 5Ks lined up, and then, like I said, I've got another 10K, and then maybe another 10K on the lead up to the half as well. But we will see. We will see. It's a week on Friday, so...
Nice. And which is the half that you've got on the horizon?
It's the Mizuno Amsterdam. So there's a half and the marathon as well. But yeah, just the half this time round.
And so I guess looking back to when you were doing more of the 800 stuff, would you ever go all out and do a 5K and see how you are, or you'd never go that far for that intensity?
I've never gone that far. In the winter, I've always been keen to do cross country. That's always been one of my strengths. Again, it's come with a background of cross country running and longer distances as a child. But yeah, the unknown. I love it. I'm excited for it so much.
What would be the longest you would have ran when you were in the 800 metre heyday?
In winter, probably 10 miles is the longest run. And then as a week, it'd probably be no more than 38 or 40 miles.
Yeah.
And that would be in the winter period.
Yeah. And so what's the longest you've done now since thinking about building it up?
It's not even that long compared to you guys, but 14 miles.
Okay.
But then we incorporate steadies as well. Yeah. But sessions is now getting 10K in volume, pushing on. And it's something that me and my coach have said, okay, yeah, we want results, and this is the path we're on, but we want to do it sensibly as well. Can't forget the background. You can't just jump from 800 metres to a half marathon. As an 800 metre runner, we are quite impatient, and we like to see results there and then.
Yeah.
And I feel like certain sessions, lactic sessions in particular, you can't get it wrong. If you get it wrong, you are screwed for that session. Whereas the one thing I'm loving at the moment with the longer sessions, you've got time within that to perfect it or correct it. If something's feeling off, there's always a second chance or a second wind that comes round.
Yeah.
But yeah, 800 metres is quite a frustrating but beautiful event. Yeah.
For those at home, an 800 metres in 1:57, how fast is that? What kind of kilometre pace?
Don't ask me about kilometres. I'm a minute mile girl. I don't have a
mile
clue.
pace. What is that?
I've never actually ran one with my watch on.
We
need a conversion right now. What is
will just
it?
be doubling it. So
If
sub 4 minute mile pace.
Which is crazy. So does that make half marathon training feel slow? Do you think you've got almost advantage from doing those track races, building up that lactic threshold?
I mean, you'll have to ask me post half marathon to know, but I am being told I have to slow down. I have to now really try and focus on making my recovery runs and my easy runs easy, whereas before it's just get this run done. Let's get this run done and run it not as fast as you can, but it's quite snappy. But now I need to realise fast isn't always good, and we're in it for the long run. And I really do need to listen to what my coach is telling me, because I want to make it to that half marathon start line, 100%.
Because an 800 metres is go out hard, cling on, try and close.
100%.
Whereas if you go out hard and try and cling on, you can't really do that for a half marathon.
Exactly. So I'm learning every day. I keep saying every day is a school day. There's always nuggets of information I'm trying to take from everybody who I come across, everybody who I run with, competitors even. And I'm just trying to take on board everything and anything, and really just do the basics, like even just recovery now, like even napping, I'm finding that's working for me. I don't know if that's because I'm getting on now and that is just part of my lifestyle anyway, but like you really do need to listen to your body more than ever, and food has been quite a big thing for me, trying to get on board with fueling correctly, making sure I'm putting in, you know, more, if not, a lot more than what I'm outputting, which I've not always necessarily got right in the past when it's been quite a heavy winter. But there's so much to learn, there's so much to take on board, and I'm just trying to be a sponge and absorb everything from anyone that I possibly can. And
so you're doing all of your track sessions or all your speed sessions on the track, or have you overdosed on the track?
No, I've got a session. I still do, I've still got one main track session, and then we alternate, depending if we're doing like lactate testing, we'll tempo on the track as well. But I'm preferring to do my tempos on the track, to be honest with you, because we can get a bit more consistency. We can lock it in, as distance people like to say now. Let's lock the pace in. But yeah, there's a good group of people. There's always somebody who can help. My husband plays a massive role in my life, and achieving the things that I've achieved, I couldn't have done it without him as my main pacer. Husband first and pacer second. But yeah, it's the tracks. I'm still training on the track 100%.
I think it's quite brave that you were like, you know, one of the best 800 metre runners in the world, like going to the Olympics. And then now you're like lining up on road start lines without the pass to like back you up and things. And basically it's just like a see what you can do. And you've gone for like you've gone for big races against some like really big, like experienced road athletes, and you're just like throwing yourself in there, and it does show that you are really enjoying it. Like, I really am doing it by choice.
Yeah, 100. Like the last year of my track career, I did dabble in different races. So I did like a mile road race. I did some cross country, and I actually did a 10K the last winter, like going into my last track season. And every time I stepped up on them start lines, it was like a mask or something had been taken off, and it was just like, no one expecting anything. Yeah. You don't know yourself what you're capable of. And I look like we were talking about the underdog feeling. I love that feeling, and I just missed it so much. I've missed that from the track, and I just had to make that decision, and could easily have turned away. I retired for a short period of time. And like I said, I just couldn't stay away. So, the running is definitely in the blood, whether it's fast or slower. But.
So does that mean that if in your half marathon you end up being the 7th fastest at the half marathon...
That's so kind, thanks.
Well, then you stop loving it?
I don't think so, no, because then I can push onto the marathon.
Okay.
There's always like another step, another phase.
But would it really be the case that, like, do you imagine the half marathon goes so well, you're then going to be like, I need to move on to a new challenge? Or could you, like... Is it the case that you always want something new, you always want to be the underdog, or is it the case, and is that the pressure that comes with being that good?
I mean, until I get to that point, I don't know. I can't honestly tell you, but I do like the fact of a challenge. I think I will knock it on the head when I do get to a marathon. I'm not going to go up to ultras or anything like that, but I think maybe my knees won't even hack it until then. Do you know what I mean? It's a long time between now and October, but no, I do. I like I said, the mentality of and the pressure of not being there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to not have that feeling of, oh, you need to run this time, you need to do that time. But there's always goals we're going to set. Like I said, I think it's so important in life, whether it is going to be in sport or something else in my life. I think it is going to be a case of writing something else down and going for it. It might not necessarily be running, it might be something else. But I think, I always like to have a goal, or 2 goals or 3 goals, and striving for that. And whether it is the marathon after this next half marathon, who knows? But we'll see.
Kip Jogi was obviously a 1,500 metre runner before the marathon.
Yeah, I know.
You just said you always have goals to to motivate you and keep you wanting them. You also have a job as well as running. Do you think having like goals in different parts of your life kind of keeps running fun for you? Like you've got other things to focus on.
Yeah.
How is balancing like being a pro athlete with a job?
So it's a casual role that I've got, so it works really, really well at the moment with my running. So I am able to perform to the best of my ability with my training and be able to fit in work as and when it fits. But it's so rewarding what I do. So I work in schools. I work for the Youth Sport Trust, and I go in delivering like sessions and telling stories of like, you know, time in sport and the highs and lows, and giving them skill sets that we have in sport as a sports person, and try and reflect it in everyday life. So it's so rewarding. The kids I work with are great. But yeah, it's so refreshing. It's something that I turned to when I retired, and it was something that I felt fit perfectly for me at that time, because I had a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience in the sporting world, and the kids have taught me so much as well. Like it's just one of them things where you take it for granted what it means to be an Olympian. Like you go into a school, some of these schools are going to they've never seen any sports person or understand what goes into being a sports person, you know, in the flesh. And yeah, it's just stripping down them barriers, and it gave me a bit of purpose at that time to be like, okay, this is like a mentor role that I've got to these kids who are looking up to me now and other people in sport. And yeah, it's so rewarding, and it's bridged a gap, and the balance between that and my running now it's so refreshing, and I feel healthy, in a healthy place, obviously physically, but the mental side of it as well. I've got that balance just right.
Can we talk about those highs and lows? What is your high of your career, and what have you struggled with?
So I feel a lot of the successes of my journey in the sport has come from rebounds or rejections or second chances, I like to say. So even my first ever vest that I got for the Commonwealth Games, the England vest that I got, came from being a reserve. Like every time I've made a team, it's become like, it's almost like a bridesmaid, every day a bridesmaid. It was because it was in Australia, they could have only taken a small cohort of athletes, and basically I got a phone call saying, yeah, you've got the standard, you've hit you've hit the times, but we don't see you as like a finalist or medal worthy, so it's like coming on a priority list at the moment. You're going to be first reserve. The only way that you're going to get to go to Australia is if someone pulls out or someone gets injured, and that's the way the cookie crumbles, basically.
And so does that mean that you're on standby to go if someone pulls out, or are you going?
Yeah, almost. No, I wasn't going.
Okay, so you're kind of like waiting at home, ready to go if someone drops out.
Exactly. So I remember the phone call that I got that day. Like I was kept running into the back of work, back of the shoe shop, and checking my phone. Oh, missed calls. I had about 4 missed calls and 2 voicemails. I'm like, such important news. I've definitely got the tea. And then it was like, please ring me back. We've got some important news. I'm like, I won't need this job anymore, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, like, you're going to have to wait until someone gets injured or pulls out. You're not made the team. So I think it was maybe about 2 or 3 weeks, I think, before the team flew out to Australia, where I got the call up for that first championship. And then I actually ended up finishing 5th, which was, like, higher than what they expected the girls who got in the team originally with. So, yeah, there's been so many stories and so many teams and so many times where it's always come from rejection, but I've always been the underdog in that respect, in terms of every time I made the team, I always go out there and run my heart off, and like 10 times more than I probably would if I'd have made the team originally. I've always worked harder for it and been hungrier for it and ready to go, just to prove my worth. And to be like, I should have been in this original team.
Is that the case, that you're trying to prove everyone wrong when you didn't get picked originally?
100%. Again, it's that underdog mentality of being like, yeah, you're not worthy of it. But every time that I got into that team, I've always gone and run my heart out and run it as fast as I possibly can, and ended up, you know, overcoming those demons and overcoming that stigma of people saying that you shouldn't have been in the team to begin with.
I guess that almost like feeds back into why doing training for something longer now, because people don't maybe think it's the normal path, think you can do it, so now it's going to fuel you on to run a little bit faster.
100%. And even down to making the team to the Olympics, I got a call a week before to say that, you know, now you have made the team. My kit got sent out to Tokyo. I had to ask one of my good friends who was a shot putter if I could borrow some of his kit to fly to the Olympics in. So I had like a dress almost to travel in, because my kit had already gone. So even then, that was a second chance opportunity. And yeah, every heat and then semi-final and every race that I did out in Tokyo, it just got better and better, because again, I was just running, not just for myself, and that was the dream, but I was running to prove my worth. Because at this point throughout my career, I had people saying like, oh, you're too old, you'll never make it at the top end of your sport. And that for me was my pinnacle. So that was the highlight of the career, making that final. And There's a picture actually that I love so much. I've got it framed where I'm just collapsed at the end of that race, where I just look like everything's just been stripped from me, like in a good way, but just like, this is it. I've achieved what I've always wanted to achieve. So yeah.
It must be such a nice feeling to get to that kind of final at the Olympics and to run your very best.
Yeah. And unexpected as well from people. Expected of myself, because that year was unbelievable. Like, I was going from strength to strength, running the fastest that I've ever ran, just being so consistent and just strong and just mentally strong. So that went from being one of the lowest moments by not getting picked originally to then one of the highest in the space of like a week. So yeah, I wouldn't change things. I think things always happen for a reason, and deep down in my heart, I knew I was meant to be an Olympian, and that no matter how crazy that journey was to get to that spot, like, I would never change that moment for what it was.
And so you speak a lot about how much you like to set your goals. Do you have long-term goals with this move to the road running? Like, do you have a long-term ambition of what you want to achieve with the half, or even with longer stuff? Or
there is a time in my head, but I want to give the sport respect. Like, I want to give a lot of respect to the people who are doing it. So I've got an idealist, like, something in my head that I think I could be capable of. But for me, it's more of just, the win for me is the enjoyment I'm getting out of it, because it took so long for me to try and find a pleasure again. So for me, that's the biggest win, that's the biggest goal, and I've got a big tick on that already. But I would love to get my hands on a GB vest, whether that is going to be for like the long course at Liverpool this year, or whether it is for some sort of team championship for the 10Ks or half, or, well, you know, for the world champs, or whatever it is. I would love to get my hands on a GB vest, just to say, like, I've gone from one end of the spectrum to the other end. So that's a big goal for me, to try and get that.
Yeah.
Amazing. We're going to segue over to Steph for our coaching tip of the week.
Today is a reminder to celebrate the milestones. Your race is one small part in your training. You spend weeks and months working hard to get to that race day, and these should be celebrated. Whether it's not skipping that strength session, finishing that long run that looked really daunting, or just getting to the start line. These are all big goals, so give yourself a pat on the back and celebrate them before you get to that big race at the end.
Hey guys, this episode is brought to you by the Runna app, the #1 rated running coaching service worldwide. And if you want to try the app today, use code podcast25 for 2 weeks totally for free. And please do remember to rate, follow and subscribe to us on your listening platform to help us climb the rankings, and so that we can keep bringing you the most interesting and amazing guests.
Thanks for that, Steph. I'm going to bring us back with our discussion of the week, sent in from one of our lovely runners. So, I started running a year and a half ago, and I've done a few half marathons. I really want to get faster and often see people wearing carbon shoes. If I decide to invest in them and get a pair, which shoes should I get, and how should I integrate them into my running and racing? Do you have any advice?
I do. So I would first of all recommend the Mizuno Rebellion Lows. They're the ones that I compete in and I often train in. But I wouldn't put a lot of your training miles in them. I keep them for race days, obviously. And then I also like to use my carbons on days where my legs are feeling like they could do with a little help, you know? So it's not something that I'd wear day in, day out. It's maybe once a week I'd wear. And then I've got a fresh pair for racing. The low profile on them doesn't actually make them feel like you're in a super shoe as such. It's quite a natural, neutral feeling. Quite light, and they're quite reasonably priced as well compared to the competitors. But yeah, the Mizunos, they've got some big things coming this next year. So yeah, I can highly recommend.
I saw people in Paris for Mizuno. It looked just like
yeah,
some really
I was
fun
there.
trips.
Yeah, they've got an array of shoes, but key from my experience, I love shoe rotation. So the more shoes in my cloakroom, if you like, the better, and that's what's worked well for me so far. So yeah, as many rotations as possible. I know some people disagree with that, and they're just like 2 pairs of shoes, but yeah, what works for one doesn't necessarily work for everybody else.
Yeah, I think for people back home kind of getting into or thinking about running in carbon shoes for the first time, I think also a really good way to kind of work it out as well can be like if you find a brand of shoe that aligns with you, like if you find that like we're all slightly different, some are wide, some are longer, whatever it's going to be. So I think often shoes run very like similar within their like lineup. So Some brands are wider, some are narrower. So I think if you have a pair of shoes that you get on really well with, then maybe going for that brand's carbon shoe, trying them out, is going to be a good way to find a good pair for you. And then I think, just like you said, I think it's really important that we don't do all of our running in our carbon shoes. Because, I mean, when you think about it, a carbon shoe is essentially giving us a support. So it's obviously going to spring us forward and make us a little faster or help us when our legs are tired. But naturally, it will then kind of allow us to be a little weaker as a result. It's not going to strengthen our feet and our kind of ankles and our lower legs in the same way. So it's worth making sure we're used to running in them before a race so that we can then run optimally, but also making sure we do enough training without them so that we can build our bodies up to be strong as well. And I think at the same time, consumers are really now in a great place where the technology's come so far and across so many of the different brands that it really is like a very open place that can make it quite nice. I mean, that you can make sure you go and get a colour that you like, because one of the brands will do a shoe in that colour as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right, we'll come over with our this or that. So, starting off with, would you rather tomorrow to have to go and run a marathon, or to have to run an 800 metres as fast as you can with your husband on your back?
I think a marathon.
Really?
Yeah, I actually
I
had
was
a
reading
really
it out being like,
honestly,
there's no way you're going to pick the marathon.
This is going to be quite embarrassing, but it provokes something. I had a dream the other night where I actually did an 800 metres or attempted to do an 800 metres, but I only did 400 metres because I was in such pain and lactic already that I was just like, I'm not going to do it, I can't do it. So yeah, from that bad dream, and yeah, carrying your husband as well, come on. Weight training as well. I've just told you I'm not doing that much in the gym.
And
so
tomorrow,
100%
it's a Wednesday. Are you running an 800 metres with Joe on your back, or are you doing a marathon?
It's just a marathon.
Really?
Just the thought of
like,
I don't run fast enough to get like lactic. So I basically wouldn't. I would do an 800 meters, but it wouldn't be fast. But if I had to run an 800 meter like the actual 800 meter girls, and I see like the lactic holes they put themselves in, like I just couldn't imagine that pain.
Yeah, the pain is just, I don't know if I can bear that pain anymore.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, there you go, curveball.
I mean, like a few minutes of pain versus a few hours seems like an easy choice.
I need to get all the practice I can now, right? And
Yeah.
so there we go.
Okay, right. Well, probably, more ridiculous. Would you rather, for your half marathon in October, would you on the start line have to eat a ghost pepper, so they're one of the spiciest chilies in the world, or to have to drink a gallon of milk on the start line?
How big's the pepper?
It's like one chili, but a really
just
spicy
like a
chili.
flake. Oh, or a gallon.
Or so like a lot of milk, or the spiciest chili you can find.
And what's the race? The half marathon.
In a half marathon.
Probably,
So you're gonna
probably a chili.
Really?
Yeah. 100%.
Are you good with spice?
Yeah, but that's next level. But I mean, like the milk, that is, you're just gonna have a lot of.
You're
gonna have constant issues with that, I believe. Yeah. Even just a bowl of cereal sometimes when I have the milk on that, and then I go and do a session, I'm like, that's not gonna sit well.
I think I get hiccups if I have anything too spicy.
Yeah, but that you could still run. That would not stop you.
Yeah.
Whereas stomach issues, like anything else going on with the milk, that's really going to stop you in your tracks, isn't it?
You're spice, aren't you?
I'm chilly. Like just the sloshing of that much liquid. I don't even care what the liquid is. Like,
yeah, and then you'll be stopping and starting for more than one reason as well.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Fair. Okay. Final one.
Okay.
Would you rather, for 800 meters, have your dog Ted in the pram and have to race it as fast as you can, pushing Ted, or have Ted run beside you and then run as fast as you can, which is going to lead you to be a faster 800 meters?
Oh, it's going to be the pram.
Really?
Yeah. His legs are gone. He's not running anywhere, that poor lad. He's definitely, I couldn't do it. Yeah, pram. I'll definitely
But
do
you
it
have
with the
ran
pram.
with Ted in a pram, haven't
Yeah,
you?
I've not run with him, no. It's a bit unstable, but he's, the pram days are long gone now as well, bless him, but I would take the pram 100%. He has made an appearance at the track, actually, to be fair, and yeah, he had a great day. He went to the water jump. He loves the water. But yeah, the pram 100%.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay. Our closing question that we like to ask all of our guests is to design their dream race. I think it gives a good insight into you.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Okay, so what is the event? Where is it? What food and drink is being served at the finish line? And who is presenting you with your award?
Okay.
feel like the
So-
distance could be anything when it.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about like the distance where
Yeah.
you know where I'm at now. So I'm
Okay.
going to probably say a number of 10k races. Okay, so it's like a
Ooh.
series
Okay. I don't think we've ever had that.
in the Greek islands. So I get to choose some Greek. So you do a
Oh, wow.
series. So you do like island hopping, and then at the end of it, you have like a big, Mamma Mia Greek night, smashing plates, loads of Greek
Like,
food.
So, yeah. It's
Yeah.
Like,
All that jazz. So it's like a big Greek party.
Oh,
But
wow.
you collect points. You collect points on the series, as you go around.
And so I'm guessing then the food's kind of a Greek souvlaki
100%. Yeah, 100%.
wow.
Beer,
how
smashing plates, kleftika, feta.
And who's giving out the award at the end of the final series?
Can they be dead or alive?
Yeah.
I'd want to say my grandparents.
Aw.
Just because they only saw me do sport and they never actually saw me like exceed and become
So you're going to win the series.
100%.
How
If it's
often are the
10K.
races? They're not
It
back to
depends
back
the
in a
islands,
day.
so it depends what cluster of islands you do. Obviously, they're in like different clusters. So like Sporadi, is it Sporades, the Aegean?
Yeah.
So it depends how many islands that you do. So maybe over the space of 2 days or a day if they're quite
okay.
close.
Oh, so it's really like a 10k
Yeah,
straight
yeah,
to the
yeah,
next
yeah.
island.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I thought it was going to be like a week or two.
Yeah,
but so,
same.
Oh no,
so
it depends how many. So,
so
like
how many-
just say
how
like
many
the
we-
so like so our favourite Greek island is Skiathos, and between
Okay.
Skiathos, it's Skiathos, Skopelos, and Alanissos. This is all like where Mamma Mia is based, by the way.
And are these islands big enough to run a 10k?
No, the islands are only 12k in length.
Okay, but so you can squeeze
So
a 10k
you could
in.
squeeze a
Yeah.
10k in. So you do that
kinda
one day,
perfect
then you
then.
get a boat across to the next one, and you do the island hop there, and then you race around that island, and then go on to the next one, and then who's the leader?
And I assume they'd be quite hilly.
Yeah, it's mixed
Yeah.
trail. We'll say
Okay.
trail.
And you're open with some hills in there.
If it's in Greece, 100%.
Yeah.
If it's anywhere but the UK, 100%.
So my favourite Greek island is the island of Rhodes. I used to live there
Ah,
for 2 years, but
lovely.
it's 200 kilometres around the outside. So
Yeah.
probably
You'd have
more
to
for an
pick a
ultramarathon
little
race.
segment, yeah. Oh, yeah, ultramarathon. But yeah, something like that, something where it's like a series, that'd be pretty cool.
I'd love to come.
That would be
Yeah.
that's a very fun answer. We haven't had anything
Yeah.
like that before.
If that's allowed, I don't know.
Anything's allowed in this world. Yeah.
I think that's a winning answer. I'm tempted. I want to come.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would the goodie bag be at the end of the race?
You could have one after each race as well.
Yeah,
so
what could you give out, like a memento? You lived in Greece for 2
Oh, you
years.
probably.
You know, Valencia Marathon, they give you like tender stem broccoli. It's like the
there was
worst
also
goodie
there was
bag
also
ever.
there was also canned chicken.
No
It was
way.
so odd.
That's so bizarre.
Yeah, it was like dry, uncooked raw broccoli.
Why has that got anything to do with the known
I think it was
for,
probably just sponsored by the local supermarket,
All right then.
but it was peculiar. Like the last thing you want is raw broccoli and then
Yeah,
a can
yeah.
of chicken
100%.
after a marathon.
Wow.
It's something better than that.
Oh, yeah,
It's
so I think,
memorable
yeah.
though. It's not just something you're like, oh. But yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for
Oh,
coming,
thank you guys for
Alex,
having
and
me.
we wish you the best of luck
Thank you.
for all your races coming up and transitioning over to the road.
Thank you so much for having me. It's
Yeah,
been a
thank you
pleasure.
very much for coming on, and we can't wait to see how you get on in October.